Hey everyone, if you've been diving into Anchor Panic, you probably know just how crazy the character roster is. There are over 50 unique characters to collect, but let me tell you, the real treasures are the SSRS. There are only 19 of them, which makes pulling one feel like hitting the jackpot. These units aren't just rare, they're game changers with abilities that can completely turn the tide in your favor. So in today's video, we're breaking down the ultimate tier list for Anchor Panic. I'll show you which characters pack the biggest punch, which ones are worth investing in, and give you a peek at their most powerful abilities. Whether you're a seasoned player or just starting out, this guide will help you figure out who deserves a spot in your team and who might be better left on the bench. Let's jump in. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking characters in Anchor Panic. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Abyssal, Diamond, Grenache, and Dawn. You know those moments in Anchor Panic when you pick a character and think, yeah, this one's gonna carry me. But then, reality hits? Well, welcome to the D tier club. First up, we've got Abyssal. Now, Abyssal dishes out ice damage to all enemies, dealing 117% of her attack plus 60 damage. Sounds decent until you realize there's only a 35% chance that the final hit will actually inflict ice corrosion, reducing ice resistance by 15%. Basically, she's like that friend who promises to help you move but somehow ends up just chilling on the couch. Then there's Diamond, who's all about that single target ice damage life. She hits one enemy at the front of the opposite side, dealing a whopping 269% of her attack plus 180 damage. And here's the kicker, there's a 60% chance to freeze the enemy solid on the first hit. Frozen enemies cannot act, which is great, if she actually lands the hit when you need it. Diamond is the classic big swing, big miss kind of character. You love her potential, hate her timing. Next up, we've got Grenache, the fire starter of the D tier squad. She deals fire damage in a 3x3 area equal to 214% of her attack plus 120. But wait, there's more! For each stack of Illusion Flame, she randomly attacks another enemy in range, dealing fire damage equal to 50% of her attack. Think of her as that unpredictable party guest who either spices things up or accidentally burns your snacks. Fun, chaotic, but not exactly reliable when the boss fight gets serious. Finally, meet Dawn, the ice specialist who's a bit of a show-off. She hits enemies in a 3x3 area, dealing 221% of her attack plus 120 damage. On top of that, she smacks the primary target with extra ice damage equal to 35% of her attack. She sounds intimidating, but in practice, she's a little like bringing a snowball to a firefight. Looks cool, but not always the game changer you hoped for. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Yan, Karanissa, and Newcastle. Ever feel like you're trying your best in Anchor Panic, but your team just isn't hitting the mark? That's kind of the vibe with the C tier crew. Starting with Yan, she dishes out physical damage to all enemies, dealing 127% of her attack plus 60 damage. Now here's the twist. If she has more than 3 stacks of sword energy, her energy burst damage increases by 10% per stack. So she can be decent if you babysit her stacks, but otherwise she's more meh than wow. Then we have Karanissa, who loves picking off enemies in the back row. She delivers lightning damage to a single enemy there, hitting for 296% of her attack plus 180 damage. And get this, every enemy she defeats boosts her energy burst damage by 10%. In theory, she's a snowball waiting to happen, but in practice, you've got to actually survive long enough to stack those kills. Finally, meet Newcastle, the straight line specialist. He deals quantum damage to enemies in a line, equal to 196% of his attack plus 120. But here's the kicker, if there's only one target in range, his energy burst damage skyrockets by 180. He's basically that guy who shines when things are simple, but once chaos hits, he tends to get lost in the crowd. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Merlo, Marceline, and Ninti, and Leng Jiao. You know that sweet spot where characters aren't complete disasters, but they're also not exactly carrying the team? That's the B tier zone, and first up, we've got Merlo. She deals fire damage to all enemies, hitting for 124% of her attack plus 60. The fun part? She gains a 60% increased critical hit rate against targets with more than 4 stacks of burn. So if you love seeing numbers explode, Merlo can be pretty satisfying. Just don't expect her to solo bosses without a little help. Next on the list is Marceline, another fire fan who spreads the pain to all enemies for 128% of her attack plus 60 damage. Her energy burst damage jumps by 50% for each enemy she defeats. Basically, she's like that friend who thrives on chaos, more enemies down, more damage up. But she needs the right setup to really shine. Finally, we have Leng Jiao, the Ice Queen of the B tier. She hits all enemies for 108% of her attack plus 60 damage. Plus, there's a 60% chance to freeze the first target she hits, meaning that enemy cannot act. Leng Jiao can be a bit inconsistent, but when she lands that freeze, it feels like a little victory dance mid-battle. She's reliable enough to be useful, but not quite enough to steal the spotlight. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Raven, Echo, Ling, and Olivia. Now we're getting into the oh yes I see you territory. Welcome to A tier. First up is Raven, the single target physical damage queen. She smacks one enemy in the front row for 303% of her attack plus 180 damage. But here's the kicker, if she defeats that target, she immediately gains double the combo points. That means Raven doesn't just hit hard, she keeps the momentum rolling, perfect for snowballing through the tougher fights. Then there's Echo, the lightning spread master. She hits all enemies for 110% of her attack plus 60 damage. Plus, there's a 35% chance to inflict Electro Ban, preventing the target from using their energy burst while reducing their lightning resistance by 10%. Echo is basically the strategist of your team. She might not scream damage numbers, but she cripples enemies in a way that really stacks up over time. Next, meet Ling, another lightning specialist who loves to make enemies jittery. She deals 117% of her attack plus 60 damage to all enemies, and the final hit applies 2 stacks of shock that last for 1 turn. Ling is all about control, keeping enemies on their toes and giving your team a chance to capitalize. She's consistent, effective, and surprisingly satisfying when that shock hits just right. Finally, we have Olivia, the fire powerhouse with area of effect Flare. She hits enemies in a 3x3 area for 186% of her attack plus 90 damage. On top of that, each stack of battle will she has increases her energy burst damage by 4%. Olivia is perfect for fights where enemies cluster together, and with a few stacks, she can turn into an absolute firestorm on the battlefield. A tier really shows how versatile and rewarding characters can be when used right. The characters in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Lycosia, Alice, Lilira, Flicker, and Turn. Alright, now we've officially entered the Game Changers zone. Say hello to the S tier legends. First up is Lycosia, the straight line physical damage machine. She hits enemies in a line for 214% of her attack plus 120 damage, and the kicker? Her damage increases by 20% for each subsequent target in that line. Imagine a bowling ball smashing through pins. Lycosia is basically that, but with way more style and way less cleanup. Next, meet Alice, the single target lightning powerhouse. She deals 303% of her attack plus 180 damage to a front row enemy, and every time she defeats an enemy, her own critical damage goes up by 10%. Alice is perfect for picking off threats and snowballing into a critical damage monster that makes bosses sweat bullets. Then we have Lilira, the healer you actually want on your team. She restores HP to all allies equal to 8% of her max HP plus 60. And here's the cherry on top. This healing effect jumps by 40% if the allies are the same element as her. Lilira isn't flashy with damage numbers, but keeping your team alive while others melt enemies around you. That's S tier magic right there. Flicker brings the quantum chaos. She hits all enemies for 115% of her attack plus 60 damage. And the final hit deals extra quantum damage equal to 8% of her own max HP. She's that wildcard who adds extra punch to every fight, and when timed right, can completely turn the tide of a battle. Finally, say hello to Turn, the ultimate team booster. Turn issues combat command to all allies, increasing their quantum damage by 5% of her attack plus 30. And just like Lilira, this effect jumps by 40% for same element operators. Basically, Turn is the secret sauce in your team, supporting, amplifying, and making sure your heavy hitters actually hit like they mean it. S tier isn't just about raw damage, it's about making the whole squad feel unstoppable. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.